Hello everyone, this is the Mythical Dragon here. Welcome to the Dragon's Den. Pull up a seat and select a drink of your choice. As always, you know my drink is coffee. And I don't know why I'm sharing this with you guys in this introduction, but I've got Starbucks creamer from my work because it was on sale for like almost $3 off. Hell yeah, I'm doing pretty good. This is definitely keeping me awake. Cheers to that. But let's get down to business. In this episode for the podcast, I'll be talking about charity and fundraising. Where it began, what do I think charity means to me, fundraising, and my experiences with all of that, really. So it's going to be a good episode. We need some positivity and to show that we're doing good in our lives. And this is one way to really do that. Before I go into any more details, let's begin with just defining what charity means to me. So for me, charity means an act that you are basically doing for others. Whether that is fundraising, as this is part of the title, fundraising for a good cause you believe in, helping someone out when they're moving, or even just being there for a friend that needs that connection right there. Charity to me means all of those things and so much more. In that broad sense, it means you are helping someone out without expecting anything in return. That's what charity is all about to me. And it's so important. There's so many people, and I guess it just goes beyond people too, like the environments, people, animals, everything really, that need our help. And if you can give someone that help, that assistance, even for just an hour, you're making the world a better place, even if it's just for that hour. It's so important to do good and to help others out. Sometimes that's hard, don't get me wrong. I have my days where I'm staring at my fundraising page I have currently going on, and I know I should be out there promoting it. I should be back to streaming soon. I should be doing all these things to like really do good for the children's hospital that I'm fundraising for right now. But there's some days where my shit, for lack of a better word, is so high that I can't kind of see past it. I can't see past that huge to-do list or that huge mental health barrier that I'm going through, and I've talked about that quite a bit in a few episodes, so you can kind of see where I'm at with that. But all in the end, basically, I always come back to charity. I always come back to this fundraiser. I think of things that I can do to better myself during the fundraiser, so a lot of my challenges are like that. So I have a walking challenge I have to do here soon. When I can get more than one day off from work, that'd be great. And then I have a few other things too, like workout challenges. If you donate $5, I have to do like 5 sit-ups or something like that. And it's really great that I can foster this charity work into doing something good for myself. I mean, I'm already doing good for myself. I'm already like showing my compassion, building that empathy, very important aspects of human nature in that sense, where you're building that compassion for something, and it's important to do that. But yeah, there's also that little personal gain that's really good too. I went on a tangent there, my apologies, but charity is so important. And I remember being younger, like very, very young, and always so excited to go somewhere and help someone. I was part of like Girl Guides, so I was a Girl Guide. And whenever we did like fundraisers or went around knocking on door to sell cookies, it was a fun thing for me. I really enjoyed it because I felt like it was going somewhere good. I was doing something good. And so from a little kid, like 10 years of age, even younger, I was already like excited to go and help someone out. Then charity became a little more when it came to volunteer experience, because volunteering is an act of charity. And I've done my fair share of that throughout the years. Not so much lately. I want to find a way to get back into volunteering. Although, I suppose you could say that my commitment and dedication to Toastmasters is volunteering, because it is. I'm not getting paid to do any of the roles that I'm doing. Like the vice president education role is unpaid, the club coach thing unpaid. It's all volunteer based. So I guess I am volunteering still, but for very different reasons than before. But back when I was living in Cold Lakes, that's a city up here in Alberta, I used to also do Girl Guides, so I volunteered and did that for a while up there. And then we moved to a farm after some tumultuous times, basically. The family that we moved on the farm with, basically, did an act of charity for us and let us live and stay on their like trailer on the farm. So there you go. Charity has been both given and taken from me, for sure, in many moments of my life. But it was that we found out that you participated and volunteered a lot at the local rodeo. That's right, this city girl used to go to a rodeo and track down the statistics and timings for all the events. Yup, I was a cowgirl growing up quite a bit, and I still have a little bit of that in me. I love going to horse events and seeing, you know, like the dressage and jumping and all that. I loved seeing it. It's a bit like, I wish I wasn't scared of riding horses, because then I totally would like do it myself, but I'm scared of riding horses. I don't know, I don't want to hurt them. I'm an overweight girl, so I just don't want to hurt a horse. There you go. But yeah, my very first memory of doing like an actual full-on charity event for like more than a day was at the local little rodeo that was up there. And it was so fun to see like all the kids running around having a good time. I did a lot of stuff too for that event. I helped run the concession at the rodeo, so like, you know, your snacks and drinks and stuff like that. I helped run that. I also did the statistics for some of the events, so I wrote down all the event, like the names of everybody participating, the horses' names, and then the timing, and then whatever the judges scored, I would write down those scores. So I was really, really involved with the rodeo for a couple of years at least, which is still wild to think of now that I'm a full city girl. Sometimes you remember those simpler days where you just spent all day out in a field, dust flying everywhere, horses neighing, and you miss it just a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, that's my very first like really big act I remember, is that little charity event, that little rodeo thing. And we also did fundraising at that event, because it was a small city, a small town. I don't even think it was really considered a town, to be honest, a very tiny area. And of course, most of the people there that ran the rodeo, would pay out of pocket. So we would fundraise to make sure that event would keep going. And it was really great to kind of be part of something that meant so much to a community. And that really has stuck with me for all these years. Gosh, like 17 years now? Yeah. And 17 years later, I'm still still doing charity work, volunteering, and fundraising. It's amazing to kind of look back at that. The next real big volunteering charity work that I did was actually in my high school. So, complicated schooling history here. I was in high school in grade 9, but I lived in the city I mentioned, Cold Lake. Then, due to the tumultuous times during that period, because life was pretty rough for grade 9, I moved in with my dad in grade 10 and moved to the city, and I've been a city girl since. What up? So grade 10, wow, that would be 2009. So I've been living in a city for 12 years. And that wasn't different when I was in the UK, living in London for 2 years there. So city girl through and through now for 12 years. And the high school that I attended or got accepted to was a brand new school. And I'm meaning brand new. The school was still under construction for 3 months when we were in school. So from September to like November. Still under construction, still getting some of the things prepared and painted and done. So very new. And they only brought in the grade 10 class because, of course, the building was still being built while we were in it. so they couldn't be at full capacity. So the idea was to have our class come in, then of course we'd be grade 11, then grade 12. So we would just kind of maintain that like growth as we continue to grow up, basically. And one of the first things I helped do in that school was actually fill the library. Because when the library opened for us in September, there were some books on the shelves. Some. There's at least a little bit in every genre, but it was still pretty bare in there. And we had basic furniture, some beanbag chairs, a few couches, a few tables, of course, and the computers were all set up at least. So over that grade 10 year, I volunteered in the library. I would help put those little barcodes into the books. I learned a lot about the Dewey Decimal System, of course, working with the librarian. And we helped order books and things, and I would have to look up the top selling books of like 2008, or like the last 5 years basically. So 2004, 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we look at those, order those in, of course, different genres, and make it sure, you know, it was kid friendly, of course, because it's high school. And that was so much fun. And again, didn't get paid for any of that. I just spent a lot of time after school being in the library with a few of my friends too. And that continued into grade 11 as well. And just, yeah, making sure the barcodes were in the books, that if you did put the book through the scanner, it would go off if it wasn't taken out or like borrowed officially in the system. And that was a lot of fun. We got to set off alarms on purpose. What high school kid wouldn't not love that, you know? And that was a really big ordeal. That took, yeah, basically all of grade 10 and into grade 11 before the library was established. And we got to pick out some of the new furniture too, which was really cool. So whatever's in my high school right now, Lillian Osborne, that furniture that's there, unless it's changed since I've graduated, which is almost 10 years ago now, my gad, you're welcome. And all the books that are on the shelves there, you're welcome. That's a part of my big act, I guess. My legacy is helping that library be built and to where it is today. So it's a very special thing for me to do that. Then I did more in high school too. I also joined a student council as a clerk, so I'm not a, I shouldn't say it's not an important position. It is an important position, but not like one that makes all the decisions. I basically took down all the minutes, did vote on a few key things that I was permitted to vote on, and I'd be the point of contact for the council. So if anyone needed to get a hold of someone, they would email me, I'd get them connected to the members, I would send updates, announcements, the minutes, weekly. And I remember the leadership teacher, who was the supervisor, of course, for student council, saying, everyone here, Violet, so this is in grade 11, almost at the end of grade 11, she's like, everyone here that's part of the council has done something, hosted an event, did a spirit week, did some sort of thing. Is there something that you want to do next year in grade 12 that you think would be helpful to the school, or helpful to even just student council alone? And I was thinking about it because we had finals, so that exam period would be very stressful, so for all of us basically. And I had this idea that maybe we could host a study hall. And in grade 11 I was working at a little pizza place, so I basically also said like I could provide food and snacks and drinks at a discount. We could get it set up in the library and host a study hall. I can go around and reach out to teachers from each subject, even if it's just one math teacher, one science teacher, English teacher, etc., to come and be like a tutor for like an hour after school. That would be something I would like to do. And maybe we can even set up a rota for the teachers. So these teachers would do Monday night, these teachers would do Wednesday night, these teachers would do Thursday night, that kind of thing. And she loved it. So boom, September, grade 12 hit. And we came in during the summer as student council to meet up and plan things out for the year. And she slotted in 2 study hall weeks for me that I could host, run, and plan for the school. And it was so much fun. And one of them got canceled, unfortunately, because My school also offered the International Bachelorette program as well as our regular high school diploma exams. So unfortunately, when I was planning the next study hall, it was during those IB exams because the International Bachelorette program, those big exams, happen the same time every year across the world because it's international. So they had to be done in May when our diplomas are in June. So unfortunately, because of most of the council being in this IB program, myself having 2 classes that were IB, it just wasn't working. I had almost been successful in setting it up for the first week of June, but then we all agreed that because we were so exhausted after the IB exams that no one would be there to help me host it. It would literally be just me in the library, probably with the librarian, and no other teachers and no one else, because even the teachers were stretched thin back in grade 12. So we unfortunately had to cancel one of them. But the first one that I ran, successful. It was a lot of IB kids, obviously, because we had exams earlier than everyone else. And I had 5 teachers come in for that first one. And it was a science teacher, math teacher, my Spanish teacher came, which was really cool. He was the main languages teacher at the time, so he was helping with languages as a whole set, because he was teaching German, Spanish, and French. Yeah, he's a cool teacher. I had an English teacher there, the librarian was English as well, and then science, math, languages, English, history teacher, social studies teacher came in, and it was great. We filled the library, and even if the kids just came in, have a couple slices of pizza, opened a book, did some work, and left, I was happy with that. They opened a book, and they were using the library that I also set up, and it was just a really good moment. So charity doesn't have to be fundraising and asking for money. It could just be hosting something to help other people. And I think, I did that a lot, for sure. I even, outside of the study hall sessions in grade 12, I added a lot of my friends, all of my classmates on Facebook. And I would constantly post statuses throughout the last couple of months of the school year, basically, before we all graduated. That, hi, I've comprised a timeline for History IB. If anyone would have access to the documents, add anything I forgot, or to work together, let me know, kind of thing. And that document had 30 people in it. And it was amazing to see what we changed the formatting, added comments, added more details, because we were so nervous about the history exams that we were filling that up completely, and we would study. And then in school, I would have them come up to me and be like, can you do something after school today with us? Can we sit down and do some history with you, or Spanish practice, or English, because English is my main subject that I absolutely love. And a little bit of math too. I was in the lower stream of math though, which is kind of embarrassing to admit, but I even had a lot of kids come up, and it got to the point I'm like, yeah, you know what, let me talk to the librarian and see if I can borrow the library for an hour after school. We can all gather together. So I would have history tutoring sessions, I would have math tutoring sessions, English tutoring sessions, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. My friends thought I was weird, because my friends weren't super academic like I was, but they're like, why are you wasting your free time doing this? Why don't you go have fun? Come to my house. And I'm like, I'll come to your house after. You guys can order food or whatever, and I'll come have food, and we can watch a movie after. I was that kid. I was like, let me go do this important thing first, and then of course I'll come over. And yeah, and they were just so weirded out by it. But then by the time exams came, they suddenly saw a lot of value in what I was doing and would come to these tutoring sessions as well. So in the end, being a nerd and being very academic focused and really developing key teaching skills through my charity work, through all this volunteering, yeah, I kind of won a lot of people over, even my own friends who didn't necessarily care about school. So that was the early years for education, for like volunteering and charity work, and I was giving up my time, my days, my evenings, basically, and my free periods too at school, and just giving back because I really cared about it. I could see potential in people. I could see potential in even the rodeo and what it meant to the community. I saw the value and potential in a lot and wanted to keep it up. And so I did, all throughout really like 10 years old to high school, and then even after, which we'll get into the next phase of charity work here, is during university. My first year of university didn't do a whole lot. I was pretty bogged down and depressed in my first year. I lost both my grandparents on my dad's side in that academic university school year, so I was really bogged down. I wasn't living with parents. I was living with my aunt and uncle, who treated me like an adult, and so expected rent to be on time, expected me to work enough hours to pay rent, as well as get some groceries and learn how to cook and clean and take care of their pets whenever they went out on the weekends. All of my grandparents were very, very ill, and it meant that I was pretty much working at 2 different places equaling almost full-time hours, while going to school full-time, while trying to be there for my dad. So first year university, didn't do a lot of volunteering. I just did a lot of work and ended up failing that last semester, which meant academic probation, and I was suddenly in this position where I was like, wow, I really lost a whole lot of who I was in high school. Became a pretty like depressed, stressed person. It's much to the same this day. Hey, cheers to that. But yeah, it was just like I felt so different, so off, and I was like, what can I do to get out of this? Like, how do I get out of this funk? What would my grandparents be proud of me for doing? And so the decision was go back to school or stay in school, go work off that probation, and take a lighter load that semester. So that's why it took also 5.5 years for me to graduate my 4-year degree. It's because I took a lighter load for the rest of my university program, like only 3 to 4 classes a semester, not the 5 or 6 that I was doing. And it meant that I had more time to volunteer. So my second year at university, I did a lot because I wanted to build up my resume. I realized that having just fast food experience going into a teaching career was not ideal. So what's the next best thing to do? Volunteer. Again, charity work, volunteerism. So I became a study buddy for the local school board here. I got matched at a school, and I was a teacher assistant basically. Well, not really teacher assistant, more of like a student assistant. So my job was to go around the class, assist students for half a day basically. So I think it was like lunch to the end of the day, and assist students with their writing skills, speaking skills, communicating skills, all these English aspects of the curriculum basically, and support the teacher and add on to some of the analysis and feedback that she would give. And it was great. The kids hated me for the first 3 weeks out of the 10-week program. They were just like, why are you here? We don't need your help. Go away. But then after I started to really help them and give good feedback, then they were sad to see me go. They stopped throwing pencils at me, basically, is what the story leads to. So I did that for 10 weeks. Then I became a mentor, like a student mentor through Big Brothers Big Sisters. Matched at a school with the students, and it was really sweet. She only wanted to work on making friends and communicating better. Something I relate to even now as an adult, so I hope she's doing well. I hope she's found her group of friends and is thriving, because I'm not. But anyway, it was really cute because I just wanted to get to know who she was, her interests, and figure out how school was going and if there's any subjects she liked, or if there's anyone in her class she knows that or would like to be friends with. And we worked on that, like the strategies to like approach them as a kid and not be too scared or nervous. And by the end of that school year, so I did that for a whole school year, so from October till June, and it was really sweet because at the end of May, so she didn't make friends right away. It took until basically May for her to like finally talk to someone who she knew liked music. And then lo and behold, by the end of May, so that whole month, her group of friends became from 1 friend to 6 friends, and 4 of them and herself created a band. And because they all played different instruments, it was so cute. So cute. So I did that for 1 year, mentored. And then throughout that second year of university too, I volunteered at an organization that works with special educational needs children, so students with different learning needs and such. And the purpose of the organization was to make them feel integrated and a part of the community. So we would do various activities. We'd go play in the park, we'd go show them and make some crafts, we would work on a variety of different like skills and coping mechanisms for these kids. And it was an intense volunteer experience because I had one girl latch on to me, and she was very sweet, but I had to be a little careful. I learned very quickly that she did have some trigger words that would cause her to just react, basically. And one of her reactions when she hears some of these words was to get violent. And my 3rd weekend, so pretty new still to this program and still getting trained, I used one of those words and she punched me in the face. That was a pretty eye-opening experience. I was like, oh, I need to look at her case notes. I need to look at like what not to do, because that sucked, right? And I almost didn't come back. But luckily one of my friends was working there, and he was there. He saw it happen. He like rushed me and like, got me like a cold compress, like an ice pack basically for like my face, for my cheek, and then like sat down. He's like, okay, went through the case notes and just talked me out of like wanting to leave, because again, I've never been punched in the face before, ever, and that was quite shocking. I've had other things happen to me as a kid. There used to be this bully of mine in middle school. I don't know why I'm telling you this story, but here we are, where every time we played soccer, so I was on an indoor soccer team in middle school, and so was he was on a different team. But then we also had the same gym class together, as luck would have it. And anytime we would take a free kick, and I was the center for soccer, for indoor soccer, so not that impressive, guys, trust me. But I would have to be in the center of the wall, right? Because that's that position. He would on purpose kick the ball as hard as he freaking could into my stomach. Every time. Like, he would not even try to aim for the goal or get to his teammates. Even in school or on the team, it would be straight into my stomach every single time. Yeah. So I've had things happen to me, obviously, and I've been pushed and shoved into lockers and the whole works. But that was the first time I got punched in the face, and I was like, Luke, I can't do this. This isn't, this is a volunteer experience, and if I'm gonna get hurt every week, I can't do this. He's like, no, you're not gonna get hurt every week. It's okay. Let's go through here. Let's work on some phrases you can use instead of these words, because her trigger words were quite common. It was, if I try to remember this correctly, I think she didn't like being told no, or any of the variations of no. So like, don't do this, you can't do this, no, no, no. I think it was either that or like maybe something to do with changing something on her quickly, something like that. It was quite specific. And so for the rest of my day, basically, him and I worked on the training stuff, so like going through the case notes and finding ways to work around saying no. And then the next time I was there, it was perfectly fine. Her and I connected, we had a lot of fun, we worked on different things together, and it was great. It was a great experience. A couple times I slipped and had like a slap or a bite or some sort of thing that would happen, because my mind would just forget after a busy school day. But it was never that. It wasn't too bad after that moment. So I got to be trained a lot on what different behavioral needs were, trigger words. I got to figure out what those were for the first time, really, and understand what the kids need, because they're not bad, they're not awful, their brains work differently, and you have to just find a way to make it work. So my favorite thing to do with this girl, by the way, instead of saying no, is like, you know what, I have a great idea, I have a better idea. How about you and I go work on those butterflies you like? Remember the butterflies you were coloring? And she'd be like, yes! And she'd get so excited, and like we would go color butterflies and, you know, just change the different activity and such like that. So just instead of saying, I don't think we can do that today, let's do this instead, I would just go, hey, I have a great idea for today, do you want to hear it? And like hype her up that way. So it was a really great experience, and I really love working with those kids, for sure. It's a little different as a teacher now, of course, but even still, like in the UK, I had a lot more experience with it too. It was really, really great. So I did a lot of volunteering that second year, and it was phenomenal. I learned so much in that year, and it was really great to have those experiences on my resume. And it definitely rounded me out more as a compassionate teacher than ever before. Then I got introduced to online charity streams. Here we go. We knew it was going to go in this direction. I have a current online fundraiser. You knew it was coming, everybody. Here we are. And yeah, so my first real experience with online charity events or online fundraising events was actually a charity event that went for 30 hours. A 30-hour charity live stream event. And I don't follow the content creator anymore, unfortunately, because a lot of drama happened when I first became this online person. But I decided to stay awake for, I think, 28 and a half hours of that 30 hours events, and it was really cool to see like the different games the person played, how much they really cared about the charity that they were streaming for. I believe it was Able Gamers or St. Jude. I can't remember which one. Yes, it was about 7 years ago when I first got into this world. So it was amazing though to see like how much he really cared about it. He went out of his way to get like personal statements from the charity he was working for or fundraising for. I wish I really remembered more, but alas, 7 years is a long time to remember stuff. And it was just amazing to see that. And then throughout, I guess that was 8 years ago. 2013 was my first real introduction to a lot of it. In 2014, I came back fully into this online world. Anyway, and then, as many of you know, or some of you know, I became a moderator for Patrick. So Patrick Static. And then I got to help him host charity events and charity streams, and then got to see like a lot of the behind the scenes work to it, and a lot goes into it. And you know, we care about the charity, or we care about the cause when we are setting hours aside every day or every week to prepare for a big event. And that's what it was for me, was reading the charity, talking to some of the people too, like some of those Able Gamer guys. I just appreciate so much what they do and how much they really care about accessibility, and it's just, it amazes me that I still follow them and just donate when I can, because it's such an important cause. But yeah, then I got to see the behind the scenes thing, and I've been a part of many online charity events since. Able Gamer streams, St. Jude streams. I did a stream for the Trevor Project with a couple of people before, and really just a lot throughout the years. And it was always me participating, never doing it myself. for a couple of years there, until about 2016, I think. 2016? 2014? 2015? The years are muddled together at this point. But basically I was a lot of participating and donating myself. I donated a lot. And sometimes I regretted it because it would be like quite a short paycheck and it was tight for a little bit, but I was so impassioned by people setting these goals, and if they could even hit half of it, I was so proud. If I could be a part of that, then I would do anything. And I was working a lot in university, so I did have the money to do it. Although some charity streams, that meant they would be tight for like 5 days until I got paid again. No big deal. But it was just something I cared about. Like, you see people's passions in these nonprofits, and your heart goes out to what they do, and it's just, you have to give, and give. Then I finally began to do charity streams of my own, and the first one was an interesting one. My friend Spam surprised me. I had a really potato laptop. I mean, hella potato laptop in 2013, 2014. I had a MacBook before, so yeah, hark on me all you want about MacBooks, but I had one before when I first set up the channel, and I got very, very sick in 2014 during the summer. It was like a combination of probably whooping cough and a nasal drip, so if you know anything about those two things, yeah, it was pretty bad. I would cough to the point of like passing out. I would barely eat because I was like always mucusy, and like it was super ill. And one of those moments I was working on my MacBook, I think editing a video, oddly enough, and I got sick and I had a coffee near my laptop like a dumbass, and I passed out and knocked the coffee all over the MacBook. I only paid $1,700 for it because it got student discount at the U of A, woohoo, or at my university, and took it in to see if we can get it fixed, and it would cost me $1,500 to repair it. Yeah, no, I ended up selling it to my friend for like $100 basically, and he took all the parts apart because he was a computer guy at the time. So he like wanted all the parts, and he wanted to see like what the damage looked like because he was that kind of a person. Loved to like deconstruct things, look at all the individual pieces and put it back together or use it in other things. So he really loved it. But then I had to buy a potato computer because it didn't actually have a proper graphics drive in it. And I knew nothing about computers back then. Holy crap, guys. Nothing. And I remember Spam, because we became friends later that year, like really closely friends later that year. And he surprised me and created a GoFundMe to get myself the laptop I have today. So we fundraised and did all that for like 2015, 2016, I think. And so eventually I decided, you know what, let me stream what I can stream on my potato computer, and that was Stardew Valley. And had a full boyfriend. And I just shared the GoFundMe link, had a really supportive group of friends. I was still modding for Pat, so I had his support too. And lo and behold, we hit the goal in like a year. And then I sold the other laptop for, again, pretty cheap because it was a potato computer. And we have the one that I'm on today. And so that was the first big charity thing I did. Between the laptop fundraising, though, I also did an Able Gamers event where we fundraised like $200 or something for my very first events. And some of the Able Gamer guys were there in the stream and supported me and cheered me on, which was really fantastic. And I never did St. Jude, though. I think I do want to get to do St. Jude maybe next year. I think that'd be really great. But I was still like being part of all the other charity events for all these other fundraisers or all these other streamers too, so I wasn't away from St. Jude. I know what St. Jude is and I love it so much. There's the Depression and Bipolar Society fundraiser that I participated with, as well as Atlantic I think it was like Atlanta Children's Hospital event I donated some for, because I still get emails from some of these organizations and they ask for money here and there, and I'll go and give $20 wherever I can, basically. And yeah, that was the very first big one that I hosted myself, and it took a year because, again, it was a big hefty goal. I think we set it for $800 or something like that, and I don't think we even actually hit the full goal. I think we hit like $675 or $700, and I just looked at spam and I was like, I can fork in like the extra $130 whatever for this laptop. So I did, and hello, we're here today. The same laptop for 5 years. Definitely need an upgrade here, I think, pretty soon, unless I can get Spam to come up and visit me, and he can just clean my laptop out and fix it for me. Hey, but we're in a pandemic. That's not gonna happen very soon. So it might either be a replacement laptop soon, or if the cards align right, I can finally see Spam again in person. Well, that's the very first one I ever hosted, was that. And then I did a couple Able Gamer streams, and then the big next charity campaign that I did for about 4 months before I went to Mexico was for the orphanage I volunteered at in Mexico. So there's 2 parts to this charity and fundraising experience here. I had the amazing opportunity to go to Mexico for 6 weeks, actually. And I stayed at my distant cousin's bed and breakfast in Nuevo Vallarta. And I would be teaching English to girls at an orphanage for 3 days a week, basically. And I got connected to their group on Facebook, their page, their website, read a lot about what they cared about. It was a good exercise for my Spanish too, because learning a second language is really hard if you're not exposed to it often. So doing all the constant reading and translating, and it was good for me. And it blew my mind, like how much they really care about these kids. And so my heart was won. I connected with them, set the dates, saved up the flight. So I paid for the flight first myself, like purely out of my own pocket. And then I saved up for my own like living costs there. It wasn't going to be too expensive because I got to live with my cousins at a bed and breakfast, basically. And then I decided, you know what would be a really great surprise to this orphanage is if I can fundraise money and help them out. Within the first month or so, because of such an important cause, I hit that 500 very quickly. I had the original goal of 500 for this. Then I bumped it up to 750 because I was like, well, I'm not going for a few more months. I might as well, right? Bumped it up to 750 and through a lot of Stardew Valley streams. And I mean a lot, because I think that was my main game. Because anyone that donated, I would name an animal after them, or they would dictate what I should do in Stardew Valley, basically. Like, what should I do on this day? Do you want me to go mining, fishing, go talk to all the villagers, forage? What do you want me to do, basically, or fish? And so that was a really great way to fundraise for me. Because Stardew Valley I was heavily addicted to in 2016, 2017. And yeah, then we hit the 750 and I just sort of asked the community, you know what, the 750 is going to go directly to the orphanage. I'm not touching it for personal means whatsoever. It's a separate account, basically. But you know what? Let's try to fundraise more. Let's aim for 1,000. And then that 250 can go to cultural experiences, because I needed that as part of my... The reason why I was going there is because it's part of one of my requirements for my certificate in international learning. So I have my BEd and CIL, just fancy titles that I have right now for my schooling degree and certificate. And it would be for cultural experiences and to also buy resources and materials for the orphanage. It wasn't necessarily all personal reasons. It was for like buying teaching supplies, notebooks, pens, pencils, all that kind of stuff. And we hit that 1,000. And that was the biggest fundraising thing I've ever done. I streamed Stardew Valley like 4 times a week kind of thing, whenever I could around my work schedule and school schedule. And it was such an amazing experience to be able to go down there. And I actually gave them $800 Canadian. After all, 800 Canadian or American? I don't remember. I think it's probably American. A lot of fundraising pages want you to fundraise in American or US dollars. So I think it was 800 US. That ended up being like a crap ton of pesos, and the ladies were so genuine, and that money went to the orphanage I was actually volunteering at. So about, I think they said something like 250 that went to the orphanage itself, but then the other, math, 250, 800, 650, 550 went to opening a sister orphanage that would be only for teenagers. And so they used the rest of that money to finish getting the furniture in, the food, supplies, books, and bedding, clothes, all these things for teenagers that they were helping to bring in and take care of too. And I got to go tour the place at the end of my 6 weeks as a special thank you. And it was just amazing to see to actually see where your money goes, because sometimes with online fundraisers you can't really see it unless you get updates sent to you, or you get to join like a Discord call or something like that to hear more about it. But to actually physically be there and see it was amazing. It was a beautiful house that they found, gated community. They even had a couple cats there that they took in, charity work of course as well. And it was just a remarkable experience. And my gran came actually for the last 10 days of my trip there. And I got to bring her to the place too. And she was so proud of me. And I think that was the first time that I ever heard her say that to me. It was that she was so proud of me. So I got to do that. And it was amazing. And now, my online fundraising, volunteering, basically, is now through ExtraLife. So it's been a few years since I've done more charity work and such, because life got busy, I graduated, moved to the UK, and bam, I was suddenly in the UK teaching and had a career. I did do one fundraiser in the UK, actually, for Mind. It was a mental health organization that I actually used a couple times, because UK was quite tough on me for career teaching wise. So I found so much value through their service that I wanted to give back. As I think the theme of this episode shows, that I wanted to give back and really become this person that I really always have wanted to become. And it was really special to fundraise for that. It was in GBP, so a lot of my friends were like, what's the conversion? And I had to help explain it to them. So we raised £200, £200, £250 for that organization. I got a t-shirt out of it, which I didn't expect, because I didn't even know there's a reward system when I signed up for it, to be honest. And then so that came in the mail and surprised me, which was really sweet. But now, for last year, I joined ExtraLife really late in the year, like I think towards the end of October I joined, and really strove to fundraise. I streamed a lot, I raised awareness, I did so much from like basically November to the end of the year, and it was amazing that I joined so late, but still had the support to hit $400 for ExtraLife last year. And it was amazing. I felt so proud of that I was able to do that in a few months. There's a downside to it though, that now comes to this part of the podcast episode, that towards the end of the ExtraLife fundraiser last year, I had a really huge realization. I actually was not getting donations via streaming. Not at all. In fact, my streams had maybe 1 or 2 viewers come in. And they were really sweet friends of mine. Like Spam came in a couple times, Braun, Doc, a few others that are really sweet to me, but they couldn't donate. And that's okay. They shared the stream and raised awareness and kept me company while I streamed for hours, that kind of thing. But I never got donations via actually streaming. All my donations last year, I think maybe 95% of my donations last year came through just social media, awareness through Facebook, Twitter, etc. So now I'm doing ExtraLife this year, and because I had such a poor experience with the 12-hour stream the year before, like in December. I think it was December, November, I did a 12-hour stream and no one came. That I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I mean, I did a streaming episode. You guys can hear this experience there, of course, but I basically was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not gaining what people normally gain from like a charity stream, right? Donations, awareness, chatters, spreading awareness. I'm not doing any of that. I am, like, I'm still, like, there's the VOD and things like that to post on YouTube and such, but other than that, I'm not getting anything. So this year I've just done it through social media, and it's worked. I like schedule my tweets out, I will write a heartfelt little preamble and then share the link, and I've got incentives this year, milestones, and it's going really, really well. I do miss streaming. I do miss having that actual live engagement with a fundraiser. I clearly have done quite well over the years with it, and it'd be nice to get back to that. That whole live stream experience, that zero, that's so prevalent and visible when you're on Twitch, is so rough. You feel like you're not really doing what you're meant to be doing. But I'm hoping to get back into it. So I do have some milestones that I would love to live stream out eventually. Just COVID has actually been pretty bad in my city here again, like really, really bad. So I can't meet up with my little brother to do a makeup stream in person, even though we're both vaccinated. We don't feel safe doing that because he's back in school too, and I'm working. And there's a couple other ones that I haven't been able to do just yet because I don't feel safe really going out and about in my city right now. So a couple of them are being delayed, but I've done pure social media fundraising now for 9 months, and I've hit $675, which was phenomenal. My goal for this one is $1,000. If we can hit this $1,000 for ExtraLife this year, I will cry, because I know the school that I'm fundraising for is a local school, actually. Local hospital, my bad. And it's an important hospital to me. It helped me get through being diagnosed with irritable bladder syndrome, which sounds awful, and it is, I promise you. It's something that never goes away but gets triggered from stress, so yay me, I'm always stressed. And then also I was a pretty young age, like in high school, so again, still kind of being part of the Stollery, the school that I'm fundraising money for, the Children's Stollery Hospital here. I went through the process of being diagnosed with Polycystic Ovarian syndrome, and so the support, just everything from like the initial meetings to getting me with 50 specialists and all this stuff, and helping me find a doctor when I turned 18. I owe them so much, and I know part of me wants to raise this $1,000 to hit like the gold medal that you can get from ExtraLife, because I've never had a gold medal in anything in my life. That's a pretty selfish reason to do it, but I also know how much that would mean to my local team, because I'm part of my city's team, so Edmonton's like the YEG ExtraLife team. But I know what the hospital needs it right now so badly with COVID. They've had to turn the ICU for children into a COVID ward earlier this year, and throughout a lot of last year. So imagine kids being in the ICU, being transported to a different hospital, or being put in different areas of the hospital because they use that as a COVID ward. It's fucking awful. So I just want to give back. And that $1,000 would be so helpful to them for the treatments that the kids need, even just getting consultations. It would mean so much to get them what they need, because it's through others that did this fundraising that got me what I needed when I needed the support and the diagnosis and stuff like that. So it's so important to me, and it feels so good to be doing charity work, to give back. And I know I'm expecting this medal, which charity work is supposed to be like you do it without expecting anything. And to be honest, I didn't know about these medals for ExtraLife at all. Even last year, I had no idea about them. And so this year I was like, oh, that's kind of a neat thing. And you know, you get like a little pin as well. Like I have a little ExtraLife top 10 community team pin. So my team got top 10 last year, so I got a little pin, I got a couple t-shirts, and it was like, oh, that's a nice surprise. But I honestly, truly am not doing it for these rewards. I really, really appreciate this hospital for all it's done for me, all it's done for my little brother, because he's recently been diagnosed with ADHD, and so he's been to the Stollery in and out throughout the pandemic too, and even he says how scary it is in there, so you know it's rough. And it just would go so far, and it's funny to come to this conclusion now, that at the end of this podcast, we're at the end now, that sometimes it's really hard to feel like you've made an impact in life somehow, some way. I know we have friends that tell us, like, of course you've made an impact, you're very important to me, Dragyn, of course. But now that I've gone through this, I'm like, I've done a lot. I do a lot, and it's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling to help out. So I guess at the end of this podcast is me saying, maybe don't do an online fundraiser. Maybe that's not up your speed or up your alley, but find a way to give back to someone, even if it's just like your mom, grandma, a friend, or if you do want to host a charity event, look at your local organizations, reach out and see if you can help out. The reward is knowing that you've done something good, you know? You don't really need a gold medal, or you don't need like these pins or t-shirts. I mean, I would have done ExtraLife without this. Honestly, I would have. Because, again, it's the Stollery. It's the hospital that helped me through 2 key phases of my life, really. And it's so important to me, and yeah, I think it's worth for us to take a step back, try to get out of our own bubbles, our own stressful bubbles that seem to burst every day, but to just do something for someone else and see how you feel. Or see how they even react to it too, because that seeing someone else be grateful for you, just seeing that reaction and knowing you've done something good, is the biggest reward out there, I think. So I encourage you all to find a cause or find a way to help someone else. Do your own form of charity, define it for yourself, figure out what it looks like for you, and I wish you the best of luck, because you're making an impact on this world, and we all need help sometimes, and if you can help someone else, then I'm sure someone will help you too. That's a nice little way to wrap it up. Thank you everyone for listening through this hour of my charity and fundraising experiences. I hope you've learned something, and maybe you've got an idea now of what you can do to help someone else out. And again, the smallest act means the world to someone else, I promise you. Even if it's just checking in with a friend saying, hey, are you okay? That itself is a form of charity, because you're not expecting anything in return. You're just checking in. You're just being a friend. So even that is an act of charity. So I encourage you to do something today, or even throughout the year, the rest of the year, and give back in any way possible, because charity and fundraising makes the world go round. It helps people get through so many tough spots. So thank you for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode on time. I promise with all my heart this will be up on Thursday. I will fight my schedule to do it. And without further ado, I love you guys. Really do. And make sure you have a great weekend. We'll see you for more episodes of everything else I do next time. Bye bye.